Hi, you're watching In Focus and I'm your host, Zan Azlee. Now, Afghanistan is a country that has always been interesting to me. Now, why has it been interesting? It's because, well, it's a war-torn country. For decades, it was, the British, the Russians, the Mujahideens, Pakistan, the Taliban, now the American forces again. And that's why I've always wanted to go there. I've always wanted to go there and see for myself what is happening in the country and see if there are any interesting stories that I can tell. Now, in the recent past, I was given the opportunity to actually visit the country on assignment for Astro Awani, of course. And this was during the time of the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in America. Now, we all know that Osama bin Laden was the person who was behind the 9/11 attacks. And he plotted and strategized the attacks while he was in Afghanistan. He had a shelter, he was given shelter by the Taliban, he was in the country, and that was where everything happened, how he planned everything. And so when I was able to go to Afghanistan during the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, one of the important things that I wanted to find out was what the locals, the Afghans, thought about the 9/11 attacks and how important a role their country actually played, and if they actually, well, basically I just wanted to find out how they felt about it. And one of the first things I did when I arrived in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, was actually to go around meeting people in the city, asking them that one question: what does 9/11 mean to you? So now, the documentary that we're going to start right now is the first of 3 episodes for In Focus. So yeah, if we go ahead and watch what we're going to be watching now, you find out the answer, what locals think about the 9/11 attacks. I arrived in Kabul, Afghanistan, all nervous and excited, and a little bit scared. Alright, very scared. The news is always showing some location in the country being blown up or shot at, explosions. How can I not be scared? It all started at September 11, 2001. Now, do I even need to explain to you about 9/11? I did not think so. Alright, so the US went in, chased the Taliban, who were the government then, out, and eventually killed Osama bin Laden, who was responsible for 9/11. 10 years on, the Americans are still there, with its coalition in the form of NATO, whose troops are known as ISAF. Now, nearly 10,000 of these troops have died there, and Afghanistan is now considered to be one of the most dangerous places in the world. I finally get to meet Ahmad Bilal Rakbat, the fixer whom I had hired and spoken to over the phone and email months before heading over. Bloody young kid, barely out of his 20s. All I could think about in my head was, is this kid going to kidnap me, or is he just going to sell me off to the nearest bearded man? Well, apparently it isn't the Taliban that you need to be afraid of when it comes to kidnapping foreigners. It's the petty criminals who think they can make a fast buck. My trip to Afghanistan coincided with the 10th anniversary of 9/11. One of the first things I wanted to do in Kabul was to go outside and meet with the locals and talk to them, get to know them, get to know their country a little bit better. Kabul itself is quite a bustling city. Small businesses and stalls operating on almost every street corners and alleyways. People sold carpets, clothes, food, even ringtones. Basically, they sold or traded anything to make a living.
Yeah, what's your question about?
Yeah, just ask me, what do you think about 9/11?
هغه د سپټمبر کله په امریکا باندې حمله وشوله امریکا غټ بلډینګ خراب شو هغه کې دوه تیارې مشتري وي ته هغه باره کې تاسو څه وایاست
د هغې په باره کې یاره موږ داسې کره معلومات نه لرو تپوس وکړو کله معلومات ترلاسه کړو تاسو به ووایو
He's saying we don't have information about 9/11 so we can't say about 9/11 anything because till now I don't know what was happened in 9/11 شما خبر دارید در وقت که 11 سپتامبر بود یک واقعه کلان در امریکا شده دو افغان هم کشته شد امریکایی هم کشته شد میگه در باره اونا شما کدام معلومات چی فکر میکنید؟ واه چی You don't have any information about 9/11 ما ایره گفتیم که افغانای خیلی چیزانی که ما باید از مردم بشنویم که چه رقم از مردم میفهمه خبر است نیست متاسف است خفاست یا چه رقم.
حالا ما درباره‌اش معلومات نداریم.
You don't have any information about 9/11?
Wow, nobody seemed to know anything about 9/11, and I wondered why.
But it's important means America came here after 9/11, so they destroyed the regime of Taliban. But that the people hope that America will come to Afghanistan and they will help to Afghanistan and my country will progress. But now, on that time, the people were hoping, but not now. But we didn't see any big changes in my country. So there is more forces from 42 countries is working in Afghanistan. But if you will see, still now we don't have a proper electricity, proper roads, proper security. So now the people are confused about that. That means they're not happy from the US, from the different countries.
It's been 10 years already, and I have to say the Afghans are right to want to move on. The real issue now, after talking to these Kabulites, is the fact that the US government, who had so eagerly entered the country in 2001, are now not fulfilling their obligations. I still had a lot of time in Kabul, and this time I decided I would change my line of questioning. This new interview strategy I had would have to wait till the next day.
Welcome back to In Focus, and you're still with me, Zan Azlee, and we're still on the topic of Afghanistan. Now, every country wants to rule itself. Every citizen of a country wants to be independent, wants to be free, wants to have freedom. And they want to have a say in how their country turns out or how their country is governed. And this is no different when it comes to the Afghans. For decades long, they've always had outside forces in their country. And right now, even though they're free from the Taliban, the NATO and American forces are still in the country, and they're the ones actually helping to run and govern the country. Now, a lot of the locals are very vocal. Some of them are for these foreign forces helping them to actually build the nation, while some are against it. Those who are for it feel that it's because of these foreign forces that the country is now very stable and secure, according to them. But then those who are against it, they feel that their country is actually more, let's say, dangerous because of the elements from the foreign forces. They don't feel safe in their own country. They feel that they need to take things into their own hands, and that they need to have a say in the running of their country, which is something that, I don't blame them, because everybody needs to have that right when they are living in their own country. So the next topic that I wanted to explore when I was in Afghanistan was actually the fact that, after so many decades, they've always had external influence in their country, how they felt about that issue, and whether they feel that they themselves are ready as a people, as a country, to actually govern themselves.
It's not too much important for Afghans because every day the same events is here. Means we have more casualties, more deaths in Afghanistan. Means every day is 9/11 in Afghanistan. So that's the reason it's not important for Afghans.
So it's obvious that 9/11 no longer had any relevance for the local Afghans. And the main issue at hand right now is that their country is being governed by foreign forces, namely United States of America. So now my new line of questioning when I took to the streets of Kabul again was to actually to find out how the local Afghans felt about being occupied by foreign forces.
تغییرات شاهد حال هستیم مثلا کم امرای نیروهای افغانستان در قسمت تامین امنیت هم با هم یک جا کار کردن ولی ما می‌خواهیم که نیروهای آمریکایی که در افغانستان آمدند کشور ما ترک کنند تا خود افغان‌ها بتوانند که سرنوشت خود تعیین کنند.
کاروبار خو زموږ ډېر ښه کاروبار روان دی. کله نه چې دا دغه شوي که نه مخکې پتلونونه نه چلېدل، اوس پتلونه هم چلېږي، دغه خنکاغونه ټول چلېږي بدلي که نه. او بزنس ډېر ښه شوی دی دلته کې. ډالر د پیسې جګه شوې ده.
Since American came, of course, there's a big help, but it's our responsibility to give them hand, you know, to help each other, to bring peace in the country. It's not we can't say all responsibility is American. So it's also our responsibility to give hand to each other and bring peace and build the country. So because peace is, you know, the best thing for everyone in the world.
درباره از اینجا آرام هستم، غریبی من میکنم، این پیش میرم، این از آرام بر شکر.
Afghanistan had already been conducting elections and they have a government headed by one of their own, President Hamid Karzai. But many Afghans are not happy with the way he's governing the country. They accuse his government of being corrupt and unaccountable. In fact, while I was in Kabul, I even stumbled upon a demonstration by the people led by several opposition politicians. The demonstration was a call to Karzai's government to sack 53 illegal MPs who are now sitting in parliament. Initially, there were 62 MPs who were winners in an election that was declared illegal by the Afghan courts. However, Karzai had chosen to ignore the court's decision and only sacked 9 of them, leaving another 53 whom the opposition have deemed illegal.
The president of this country, without any regard to the court's decisions and the court's verdicts, he completely ignored all that, and he, in recommendation of several embassies and the UN office in Afghanistan, totally bypassed the Sharia court in this country and implemented something arbitrary from his own pocket.
مردم افغانستان تنها مشکلاتشون در یک گوشه یا در دیگه گوشه دولت حل نمیشه. دولت از سر تا به پا سبب مشکل مردم افغانستان گردیده. فقط وقت ما نظام را کمک میکنیم که نظام احترام به شریعت به قانون به حقوق مردم داشته باشه.
نه موږ په چه خوشاله موږ په تک شل زور ته واړو نه زو تر څو پورې ته موږ حق نه راکول سوال موږ د خپل را نه کېدو پورې دا میدان نه خوشی کوو
دا غواړو چې موږ د خپل ځان غوښتنه وکړو د خپل دین غوښتنه وکړو د زموږ دین پیمانه کېږي زموږ وطن پیمانه کېږي د خوار غریب حق نه پیژندل کېږي په دې ځای کې.
In my eyes, it clearly showed the passion that the Afghan people had for their country. They knew their rights, they knew how to fight for it, and most importantly, they felt that they were ready to govern their own country. I was getting really worked up by the demonstration, and it actually had me reminiscing about home.
Hi, you're still watching In Focus and you're still with me, Zan Azlee. We're still on the topic of Afghanistan. Now, I was in Afghanistan for a certain period of time, and during that period, there was this one day which the Afghans call Ahmad Shah Massoud Day. Now, Ahmad Shah Massoud is actually a national hero. He's died now. He was actually assassinated by the Taliban, and he was of Tajik ethnicity, and he was actually one of the Mujahideen leaders during the war with the Russians, and he's actually one person, a personality that actually could pull the different tribes in Afghanistan. Now, Afghanistan is a country that has many tribes, different tribes, and it's very hard because of so many. It's a multi-ethnic ethnic country, it's very hard to pull all of them together. And Ahmad Shah Massoud is actually one person who actually, although he's Tajik, he had this influence throughout the whole country, and he could actually pull all these different tribes to come together and see themselves as one Afghan people, right? And when I was there, it was his death anniversary, and I was able to actually join in the celebrations, if you want to call it that, and actually talk to people and how they felt that Afghanistan needs this spirit, you know, that Ahmad Shah Massoud actually brought to the country many years ago, and you know, they feel that they can actually use some of that spirit right now. So yeah, let's go ahead and watch what's next.
It's Massoud Day. If you don't know what that is, it's actually the anniversary of the death of Ahmad Shah Massoud, the great Mujahideen general who fought against the Russians and then the Taliban. He was assassinated 2 days before the 9/11 attacks in 2001. And that date is now a national holiday in Afghanistan. Bilal, my fixer, brought me to Massoud Square, which was really a roundabout in the heart of Kabul, to see the celebration.
با همگان معلوم است این گپ پوشیده و پنهان نیست، به کل دنیا معلوم است مسعود یک شخصیت تکرارناپذیر در صحنه سیاست افغانستان ظاهر شد و پس رفت. همون رفتنش ما یادبود میگیریم همه سال است.
مسعود کسی بود که به خاطر رضای خدا قدم گذاشته بود و به خاطر رضای خدا، به خاطر دین مبین اسلام مبارزه میکرد. این در نظر نداشت که پشتون، تاجیک، ازبک، هزاره، تاجیک، پشهی همه را تحت یک چتر جمع‌آوری کرده بود و به خاطر رضای خدا، به خاطر آبرومندی، عزت مردم افغانستان مبارزه میکرد و خون خود فدا کرد.
و ما اینمی یک تجلیل کازی و ما ماند است، اینمی افتخار است، اینمی سمبولش است در سر ماسته. اینمی را تا روز که زنده هستیم ما افتخار میکنیم با کارمان ملی که ما را همه طور وطن ما را آزاد ساخت از دست روس، از دست کمونستان آزاد ساخت، ازبکستان آزاد ساخت، تاجیکستان آزاد ساخت، ارمنستان، قزاق، تمام ممالکایی که اسلامی بود این را با افتخار ایمی با کارمان ملی آزاد ساخت بدون افغانستان.
Massoud left his ideas, the idea of freedom, the idea of liberation of Afghanistan.
However, Bilal, ever the one to put things into perspective for me, said that he thinks Massoud's death has been politicized. He feels that the Afghan politicians are just using the people's sentiments to garner votes. But to me, I think every country needs a hero, someone that can pull together the people and symbolize some sort of nationalism. But it's just my thoughts anyway.
Okay, now talking about multi-ethnicity, an interesting story which I heard before going to Afghanistan is the fact that there is this one last Jew who's living in the country. Now, Afghanistan is a predominantly a Muslim country, and I heard over the internet, on TV, reading the newspapers that there was this one Jew left in Afghanistan. Now, he's an Afghan national, but he's a Jew, the only one. And when I arrived in Kabul, my fixer, Ahmad Bilal, I actually told him, look, I want to look for this guy, do you think you can find him for me? And we went around the city looking for him, and we actually did find him. And it's true, he is the only last Jew left in the entire country. And listening to him tell his story is actually quite interesting. So yeah, please listen to his story right now.
I searched high and low all over Kabul to search for this guy. His name is Zebulon Simantov, and he is supposedly the last Jew in Afghanistan.
نتي اسم صدقون تقو خلطه صوته شغل الخبيط الأخير صوته وتلميذ اشتبت الرحيم ويتي مقدش الأخير أني أنا الأخير شو تتخم بس مثل يود الأخير الأخير أني أنا الأخير ميت وقت فامیلا قدیمای پیش 20 سال 30 سال 40 سال پیش 50 سال پیش 500 فامیلی به ایران بود 100 فامیلی به کابل بود 80 100 فامیل یوسف سیمنتو کاکای پدرم از جوزیان آمد کابل ابتدا کرد خود امالله خان داوود چید امالله خان خود نادر خان زاهد خان هاشم خان میشیش
20 سال پیش
چه 50 سال پیش 70 از دوره امالله خان و از دوره چی نادر خان بگو 1948 که اسرائیل استقلال گرفت یهودیای اونجا چیز خواهش کردن ملل متحد وقت نعیم خان بود نماینده ملل متحد یهودی‌ها رو با مهاجرت شروع کردن رفتن اسرائیل اینا یهودی‌ها خاطر دولت‌های نه تا خاطر همین روزا می‌دیدن که همین روزایی که بعد میاد یهودی‌ها پیشونی کرده بودن یهودی‌ها ترک کردن رفتن امریکا لندن سوئیس اسرائیل ها همین حالت مردم 30 سال پیش 40 سال پیش بینی کرده بودن کمونیست شوروی میاد افغانستان میگیره صاحبش میگم خود به همین هست من افغان هستم
You're saying there's the reason I'm Afghan.
I am Jewish Afghan.
I'm Jewish Afghan. So it's the reason I'm not going.
Zebulon had requested for $500 for this interview. Now, the ethical journalist in me struggled with this, since paying for interviews is a big no-no, and also because I didn't have a big budget going into Afghanistan. Those bloody Western journalists have been paying him all this while. But you know I had come this far, and in the end I managed to haggle with the guy and brought the price down to $100.
این کتابای کنند کتابای کنند حالا اینجا فعلا لکه نماز میخواه اینجا میر چوکی بود کلش قالین بود هر چی بود خاک بس همه چی میشه این هم وقت طالبا بود ما گوتی نمازیار نبودیم بهتره این هم وقت طالبا این رو پاره کردن پیش ما طالبا مندالا Taliban, it's problem. Taliban.
And when I questioned Zebulon about his life during Taliban rule, he just declined to answer.
تجارت کلان دست یهودیا بودک او وقتا خیلی یک پیوند خوب دوستی صداقانه همه پیوند یهودیا خود مسلمان خیلی پیوند چی دست او سابق تو حال زمین آسمون فرق میکنه چی دولت چی بود خیلی دولت خودی مسلمان خوب چی داشتن مسلمان ها از یهودیا میدن مال میخیدن شنبه دیکونا بسته به کروز از مسلمان ها میخوان معامله میکنن تا ما دیکون واکنی ایت ما رفیقای دارم مسلمان ها رفیقای دارم ما از برای خو بیشتر دوست دارم به من
I miss him than Jews.
به من یهود مسلمان انگلیس نصارا گبر هندو کفر هندو کلش یکی به من انسان یکی به من مینا را هستم
This is one of Zebulon's best friends, a Muslim named Abdul Shukur.
اینا بودن تلفن کنن چی میشه که خدا که ساعت میگیریم انشاءالله دکتر گفت چهارشنبه و مطلب میره بخیر
این زاویه 4 سال میشه چند 4 سال نه بگو با ما مهم این است که افغان است مردم میره خبر داره که از اروپا، امریکا، انگلستان، چل کشور دنیا در اینجا آمده به این کشور خدمت میکنن. این افغان خود ما که دوستی کنیم مشکل داره.
So that's it. You've seen the first episode out of 3 special episodes on Afghanistan here on In Focus. Now make sure you tune in next week for the second part, where I'll be actually visiting some very, very interesting cultural places in Kabul. One of the first places that I go to is actually a cinema, which was banned and shut down by the Taliban during its rule, the National Museum, and Skateistan, a special skate park, an NGO that teaches underprivileged children in Kabul how to skateboard. So don't forget to tune in to In Focus with me, Zan Azlee, next week. Goodbye.